Hello and welcome to C# tutorials. So this is my first computer programming tutorial that I'm going to give now on YouTube. Now, to a lot of newbies that don't know how to start off with computer programming, let's understand what is a computer programming language and how does it work, what do you gotta do. Computer programming is somewhat like this. You give the computer a list of instructions that's like whatever, and the computer does what you tell it to do. Just like a cleaning lady, you give it a list of instructions, maybe wash the dishes, maybe mop the floors, and automatically the computer starts doing it for you. Now, you see, this is a big computer program called Microsoft Windows. So if you really know programming, and you could make such a big Microsoft Windows. You could make such a program that's a browser, anything. You could make a calculator program. Yeah, let's look at a calculator. Calculator. You see, this is a program. You press this, you do this, you this times this. This is how do you make this? This you make with a computer programming. You tell any program that you open or you use is basically giving the computer a list of instructions. Now, who are you giving the list of instructions? Who are you giving it to? There's a small piece in the computer that's called a CPU. And a CPU looks somewhat like this. This is what a CPU is all about. And you basically, when you write whatever and you give the computer a list of instructions, it goes through the CPU. The CPU has a brain, it reads it, and basically it does whatever it needs to do. So basically you give it instructions, you say A, B, C, D, and this looks at it, and it makes sense of that program, and it displays it to you on the screen. Now, I'll show you what language does this CPU read. So, it uses a special language called binary. Now, what is binary? Binary is a thing the computer understands only 0 and 1. It doesn't understand anything else. It's like a switch, it's like a light bulb. You can switch it on, or you can switch it off. Now, binary is a little interesting. It works with a 1 and a 0. 1 and a 0. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Now, what does a computer do with this binary? How does it read it? How do you tell somebody something with 0 and 1? So all the cell phone signals, anything that flies in the air, anything that goes through wire, anything, a fact, everything today's days works with a 1 and a 0. Your watch works with a 1 and a 0. You see a lot of times by the side on your computer on the power button, you see a small symbol that looks like an O, like this. Let me check it up online. It looks somewhat like this. Power button. It looks like this. This is a 1, and this is a 0. So basically it's 0, and then here it's a 1. So it's showing that it's a 1 and a 0 together. That's what a computer is powered off. So now I'll show you how does the computer read what you give it. So when they used to write programs the first time, they had to speak the computer language, right? Just like a Chinese speaks Chinese and an American speaks English, a computer only speaks 0 and 1. So what they used to do is, they used to have these geeks out there, and they used to write 1111, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, and this whole language, this whole series of zeros and 1 meant something. If you wrote 0, if you wrote a little differently, 0 and then a 1 meant different than a 1 and a 0. And you can make a lot of combinations with these 1s and 0s. So what they used to do is they used to write 1, 0, whatever it is, a 1, 0, or 0, 0, 1, 1, or 1, 1, 1, 1, and all these stuff meant something. Now, what did it mean? It meant a list of instructions. This could have meant go to the first instruction, go jump to this instruction meant minus the, but it wasn't really written, it was written in a lot of 1s and 0s, like 1, 1, 0, 0, oops, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, and like this a computer used to read through all these series. Now, all this stuff meant something. This thing could have meant a number. So this whole thing, 11100, what they did is later on, they made, okay, this series of 1s and 0 means the number 1. Yeah, this series, I'm sorry, this series of the number 0 means the number 1. And this series over here means the number 2. And this instruction over here, let me make it nice, means the number 3. And this instruction means the number 4. And this instruction, whatever. Like therefore and therefore and therefore. So later on, what they used to do is, they used to, instead of write 0, 0, 0, they would write 1, 4, basically instruction 1, instruction 4, instruction 2. What it meant, a whole line of 1 and 0s and 0s and 1s and 1s and 0s. So basically you had to type way less. So what they did is, they did later on, they went further. Instead of writing, let's say somebody would write 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and write all this list of instructions, a lot of instructions to write. So what they did is, they said all these instructions, but this instruction means a lot of zeros and ones, this instruction means a lot of zeros and ones. So basically, this instruction means whatever, and this instruction, yeah, and this instruction means 0, 1, whatever, and this instruction, oops, and that instruction also means 0, 1, whatever. So now, what they did is, they needed to come up with something instead of writing all these numbers. So what they do, instead of writing all these numbers, they wrote something else. They said, instead of writing all these numbers, that means zeros and ones, let's say this whole series of numbers means, go to the first this whole number means, let's say, red. Write a red pixel, write a red pixel to the screen. Yeah? So this whole list of instructions meant write a red pixel to the screen. And this whole list of instructions meant a green. This whole list of instructions meant a green pixel. Yeah, this whole list of instructions meant a green pixel. Yeah, meant a green, right? Here you have a red pixel, and here you have a green pixel, and this whole list of instructions meant a yellow pixel. Yeah, everything meant something else. And then instead of writing all this list of numbers that represent this word green, or that represents this word red, they would write green, red, and like this make a whole picture, write all the colors and basically make a whole picture. So today's days in programming, they have a new way of programming. It's basically you tell a computer if, then, when. Basically, the computer became so well established that you could write the word if, and this if means a series of numbers, means a series of a thing called, not really numbers. Basically, this if, I forgot to tell you another small thing, this thing called assembly language is basically from zeros and ones, and under that layer means a thing called numbers that make up from all these zeros and ones. That's way longer because each number means a whole big series of zeros and ones. Each of these numbers means a whole thing of their zeros and ones. And this whole series of numbers would be the next language called assembly. Now assembly works like this. Jump. Right. Jump. Go back. So basically you write instruction 1. Jump to the second instruction. Instruction 2. Jump back to instruction 1. Instruction 3. Write 4. So you had writing 4 and then go back, write 4 and go back to instruction 1. So you had instruction 1, instruction 2, go back to instruction, and it was very complex and no one understood it, and basically computers were a disaster in those days. So instead of writing jump x wax, I don't know, all these words that they used to have on shorthand what the computer should do. So instead of writing all these words, they came up, instead of a whole thing of assembly, that's all this jump, wax, wax, and all this stuff, and this whole list of instructions that was becoming extremely big. What they did is, later on, they took this whole list of instructions, basically means if, and this whole list of instructions means write 4 to the screen. So if whatever condition, if I have 0, then write 1. So these two write programs more like this. This looks a little more English style. If I have the number 0, then write 1 to the screen. Or if I have a green pixel, and give me write you are very green. And like this, the whole programming language and all these programmings started. So what I'm going to teach you is a thing called C#. It's a very modern language that tells you most of the programmers today's days, I could say a nice 60% of the programmers in the world. I'm not going to make any arguments with anyone if it's 60. It's a lot of programmers today's days use this language called C#. No one, almost no programmers in a commercial environment, other than some geeks sitting by Microsoft, would sit and write this This is just for testing a virus or whatever it is. Now, when you write if pixel green, and write this, now the computer doesn't understand this. So what it does is, there is a whole book, a whole code book that you download to your computer, small like a book that you download, and think of it like a dictionary. And when you write the word if, the dictionary goes and looks up this whole thing of code here. This whole thing. Oops. It goes and looks up this whole thing of code, what means if. And then there's another dictionary. And basically it takes this and it prints it out to a new file. And you have this. And then you have green pixel, what means this. And then you have this, what means write green to the screen. And then the computer, basically the computer makes a file that looks like this. And basically it doesn't really write it like this. It just converts it into this. But basically the computer converts it into this, yeah, through the dictionary. It searches what if is and it makes it into this. Then the computer searches what this means and converts it into numbers. And the computer takes the numbers and checks on it, and it sees what each number means, and it turns in the whole file into zeros and ones. And then it takes the file and puts it onto the screen, and then you see a lot of these files, it says .exe. Basically a lot of those files are basically a chunk of this, but nobody understands what this means. It's basically written in this, it goes down to this, and then it goes down to this. If you like this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. I want to make more tutorials, and I'll basically tell you how programming works and how to write your first program. And you should definitely not be overwhelmed by programming. It's not scary, it's very simple. It's like writing simple English. It's like, if green, pixel, right, you are very green. It's just as simple as that. People will try to use their ego and say, I know programming. Everybody started like a newbie. And later on they went on and wrote more and more complex software. And if you learn, then you'll know. If you don't learn, then you don't know. It's like any industry. People will always try to scare you off. But if you're with me, I guarantee you that you will understand programming. No doubt about it. So, and I'll be teaching a program that's called a programming language, basically. That's the language that turns it into this, that turns it into this. Basically, this language is like simple English. And it will be very easy for you to understand, and I'll go through every step with you, and you'll be a master at programming.